Welcome to San Antonio Fancast. My name is Harry. Joining me, Rafa. You're in Odessa or Laredo or North Texas. Where the heck are you today?
I'm in Laredo.
Wearing an Odessa shirt. Hey, you're Real Madrid. They're not Barcelona, but hey, they came back, got the job done. Jonathan, are you in a Dynamo jersey? I see orange.
I am not. I'm in a Netherlands jersey. One of probably about a dozen I've got national team jerseys. Kind of a little collection growing there.
Who knew that Jonathan was into national team jerseys? I didn't know that. Matt, where's your Dynamo kit, man? The only Texas team in the playoffs, and you don't represent?
Well, I didn't know if it was going to be allowed. I could put it on real quick.
Well, up to you. You'll catch a little bit of flack, but hey, through there. Royce, like I said here, I hope you're doing well. I know last week you weren't feeling well. Through there here. Mexican American 210, hello. Welcome. Good win for Barcelona today here. And Robert, dude, you were talking in the chat. What happened, man? Just like your Vikings, you just come up short, man. So.
We're taking straight today.
Well, the title of the show, SanAntonio FC. Initial thoughts. We'll start with the reporter, get kind of the post-game feel. I didn't even look at the post-game comments. Normally I do, but this one here, it took me a couple of days just to get over the season's basically over. I know there's a home game against Detroit City, who are still trying to fight for, I think, third place in the East for that here. They may have it locked up. I'll have to look at the numbers real close. But they're playing for the playoffs. We are loading the fishing boat to go fishing. So, Jonathan, talk to us about the post-game interviews and such. I'm assuming, well, at that time, I guess they probably did not know that they were officially eliminated, but I have a feeling not getting the W, you kind of had, basically the way to stay into it was gone.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I know even I was a bit optimistic that SAFC, and maybe not even so much that SAFC was going to make this late season run, make it into the playoffs, if nothing else, just because of how, if anyone had been following Oakland roots, they had been in absolute free fall the last couple months. Just a string of poor results kept falling down the table. But when push came to shove and SAFC dropped a couple points against Louisville on Saturday, Oakland was able to come to life, was able to hold on for a 3-2 win away to Las Vegas. And that was enough to seal their playoff spot and eliminate SAFC. As far as, I don't even want to talk so much about Louisville City, but more just over this past month or two for SAFC, it was this kind of somewhat cliche narrative of every game is a cup final, and they kind of tried to make this late run, but it just wasn't quite consistent enough. And I think the real big problem, though, and we're probably going to talk more about this in coming weeks and months as we reflect on the season as a whole, is just that SAFC had dug itself such a deep hole. And we were even saying at the start of the year, look at the way the season ends with matches against the likes of Sacramento Republic, against Louisville City, Detroit. You don't want to be needing points at that stage of the season. And what position was SAFC in? They needed points at the end of the season against some of these teams. And even though it did start to get some of those results, it really dug itself a hole, like I said. From a factual standpoint, SAFC, obviously there have been times before when it missed out on the playoffs, but this is the first time that it will go into a match with no chance whatsoever. People may, longtime SAFC fans will remember 2016, 18 and 19, there was always a chance on that last day. In 2019, they even controlled their own destiny, weren't depending on anyone else, but all 3 times fell short. This time, it's just there's no chance. If you want maybe a little bit of a positive, or not even a positive so much, but just something to take the excitement out of this final match even more, is SAFC can't get up 1 spot into 8th. They can't sneak into the playoffs, and I don't think they can slip to 10th either. So they're locked in 9th. They will be that first team that missed the playoffs no matter what happens.
Matt, Mr. Dynamo, your thoughts as the only fan of a team that's made the playoffs for MLS or USL. Your thoughts on, I'm assuming it's your Team A, SanAntonio FC, missing out?
I mean, I called it in the beginning. I said if they didn't mesh together in the beginning, everything was just gonna go downhill. And sure enough, look where we're at. So it's importance of how you start, not how you finish, Royce.
Dude, why are you throwing shade at Royce, man?
I called it. I kept saying it. If they don't mesh together now, they're never gonna mesh throughout the season. And look what happened.
Yeah, I think what he's kind of responding to is, and I think Royce has said it a few times over the course of this season, is, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. The problem is, like I said, SAFC really dug itself a hole. And we said earlier this year, you don't want to have to get points at the end. So while it would have been nice and it would have really given SAFC some momentum to make that late season run, to finish strong and beat some of the better teams in the league, it didn't materialize. And you can only compensate so much at the end of the season.
Which is true. I mean, there should have been a lot of big moves way before. But I mean, we'll probably talk about that another time. But yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. I mean, I don't think we should have been, especially if we're having international players and all the goods to it. We shouldn't be trying to scrap for points. That's just me though.
Pardon me, Rafa. I know you spent this last match drumming. When you initially came on, you're like El Paso Costas, and I actually think it's a little bit more than that here. But kind of your thoughts on the missing in the playoffs.
I think we gave up points on give me games. The El Paso was a give me game. Should you win that one, you're still in the hunt. But also, Harry, like you mentioned, the Miami game. Miami's the worst team in the league. We should have. That's 6 points right there, and that puts us in the 6th spot. And we'll be talking about our matchup in a couple weeks. But also, I think Matt also kind of, like I said, he kind of payback on his. You do have to start right. It's not how you, especially that schedule you had, knowing at the very end it was going to be a gauntlet. And if you at least get some, have a good enough points ahead, yeah, maybe you'll be able to give up a loss or a tie here, but you still get in. I think the wheels fell off after we lost our starting forward, and we just never recovered. And this team just never built any chemistry, and they never able to get it together. And I think that's the inconsistency. Just couldn't. I think we're all expected us to get, like we've done in the past, and make a run or have a little hot streak. It just didn't happen this year, and now we're kind of, like I said, now we're looking from the outside in, but like I said, it's going to be a lot of soul searching after Saturday, and we'll see what's going to be done after the season's over and what direction it goes.
Matt, somebody wants Mr. the Great and Legendary Jason Miranda has a question here for you.
Houston, bro. I ain't gonna wear any other MLS team in Texas. Born a Dynamo fan. Here we go.
Wow.
Here we go.
Uh-huh.
Here we go.
Uh-huh.
Like we said his name 3 times and he popped up.
So
I'm
Rex
not gonna lie.
just
We actually did.
sure.
Here's Beetlejuice.
Sure. Can y'all hear me first of all?
Yeah, you're good.
Unfortunately.
Oh,
That's correct. No, that's absolutely correct. No, that's perfectly fine. No, my son decided to pop on us last minute that, oh, hey, I have homework due, and he has to paint a pumpkin, so I had to go shopping for pumpkins this evening. So yeah, we're having a great time.
so I am going to push back on the 3 of you.
Uh-oh.
Y'all said we didn't get off to a good start. That's wrong.
I don't know that anyone said they didn't get off to a good start.
It's not we didn't get off a good start. It was more we just didn't get a good start as far as consistent play.
It's not.
I know
It's the middle of the season that killed us.
Yeah.
From the May to you can go to August 10th. They had 2 wins, and the rest were losses because they started out 2 draws, 2 wins. For that here. So the first 10 games, SanAntonio, while it wasn't perfect, they were in a decent position, and then just the wheels fell off. So to me, kind of pigging back off of Royce with, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And then you guys were, talking about, hey, it's also how you start. They started okay. They just fell apart in the middle of the freaking season, and they couldn't figure it out. So.
I'm jumping into this. I'm not sure what y'all are talking about exactly. Obviously, it's a season review. Hello, everybody. By the way, sorry for being late.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah. Hello. Hi. How are you? No. What I will say was in the beginning of the season, the first few games, when we had Silva on the left, Silva and Jorge combined really well. We were very dangerous up that left side, and once Silva got hurt, our offensive production went straight down. Our XG plummeted, and that is kind of the beginning of this score issue that SAFC never really found their way out of, and that's kind of been a big problem with this season 2024.
Because to me, and like I posted in our chat here, when Louisville and SanAntonio were matching, the goal difference from Louisville was greater than our goal scored, but we had only allowed four more goals than what they had. So as much as we blame the defense in certain aspects, because it was always at key moments where they would have that lapse.
That one mistake that always happened this season. Yeah.
And
but that one mistake was the same player.
No, it wasn't.
It was 2 or 3 different players. It was a combination. It's not just one. It happened to be one in a couple of the games fairly recently, but it's been kind of a collective issue. This entire season is at least one player has made a mistake every game, and we have never been able to recover from that.
So, but
I mean, for instance, you can't blame that one player for making fouls outside of the box right in front of our goal to lose to Tulsa, to lose to El Paso. That was not that one player. I know who you're talking about. We all know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
that's not that one player's mistake. It's somebody else's mistake by making a stupid foul in front of the goal.
Are you calling out Burks? Yeah.
And it hasn't just been him. He's had some very high profile mistakes, but it hasn't been him. There's been multiple players that have made mistakes.
The lack of having a consistent number 6. I think that was the root of it.
That's been an issue. Issue
because we didn't really have someone that can really defend, kind of like Abu or PC in the past, and that's what allowed. I guess they didn't have the discipline to not foul those players on the outside of that box, which created those all the set pieces and so forth. I think that's part of the mix of why our back three didn't really.
Right.
I think able to.
There was no cover. There was no
Mhm.
cover for them, and a big issue with that. And you can't blame Ferruzzi for it. You can't blame Marcina for it. Is Mo Abu suddenly retiring into the season? It wasn't even before the season. It was into the season, and that was a big issue. And so they tried to fill that void with Kevin, and they tried to fill that void bringing Sofian in, and it hasn't gelled. We haven't found that six that has just gelled with everything. Kevin, because obviously with his caliber, he keeps going out on international assignments at really poor times for us. And then Sofian is more of an 8. We just haven't found that 6. And I think that it should be a priority this offseason for the front office to go find a dependable 6 for the squad, because no matter anything, doesn't matter if it's still the same coaching staff, it doesn't matter anything. The number one priority for this team needs to be getting that dependable 6 and locking down the midfield, because the midfield was always an issue when Darren Powell was manager. That was always an issue. Even though we had Pekka, we always got run over in the midfield besides 2017. And next year, and since Marcina's been in charge, the midfield has not been a problem until this season, and that's because there's no Marcina players left. They need to go out. They need to find that dependable 6, and that's the number one priority. Period.
I would say forward too, but that's a whole.
You got to lock down the midfield before you get that forward. And 9 times out of 10, it has been a loanee forward that has been the top scorer. I mean, even on the Puro SAFC podcast, that's their running joke. That's always one of their bingo squares in the beginning of the season, is the leading goal scorer not on the roster yet. And that's because they typically find that gym. Didn't find that gym this year. We had a bunch of loanees. No one really caught fire the way that Atani Oluwaseyi. Yeah,
Lambert
he's
Lambert was
a goal scorer though.
Right, but I'm just talking about none of the loanees impressed me. Period.
Yeah, none of them really had a big impact.
It's hard to argue.
I thought Brooks was going to have like an impact, at least generating part of the offense with Jorge. It just never materialized, and I guess a lot had to do with injuries and also him being called up a lot. I think the focus for next season is they have to have some depth there in the central midfield, and that's all. What also is going to play into is what type of formation we end up playing. I have a feeling we may end up go to a 4-back next season.
Well, it depends. To me,
that's what I'm sensing. The 3-back
depends
maybe
on who the coach is. That's the hard thing. If it's Marcy, to me, and this is, and I've said this before, Ferruzzi isn't doing him any favors by not saying what he wants this team to be. I have no clue what he wants this team to be. Does he want it to be kind of a model like FC Dallas? Kind of develop young players to be able to sell and grow that way, kind of like Blue City done, Orange County's done? Or are we going to stay like Marcina, where we do the old veterans, the top tier MLS loanies, the international players? To me, we're what?
It's mixed.
19th out of 24 teams, if my math is right, according to the standings right now, because you have 4 and 5. Yeah, so we're 5th from the bottom, so 24. Yeah, 19th, and we will finish no better than, well, I guess you could equal 42 points, but
they could score 50 against Detroit and get that back, but I mean, theoretically.
Just total points, we're at 39. The next teams are Loudoun United at 42, Legion at 42, Phoenix at 42. So the best we could do would be move up there. Out of 24 teams, there's only 4 teams that are worse than us, and that's the Miami FC, El Paso, Monterey Bay, and Tulsa. That's not how Spurs Sports and Entertainment, San Antonio FC historically has operated.
But you only had one winning record with, and that was against Monterey Bay. The other ones we didn't beat them.
So here's a fun one. So of every month this season so far, so that's March through September, we've played at least 3 games a month. Every month has honestly been 4 games at least, except for July, there were 3 because of the midsummer break. June was 6 games. August was 5 games. There will be a 5 in October, and that's including the one we don't know the result of, which is still up in the air. We have not won more than 2 games every month. March, we won 2 games. April, we won 1 game in April. That's 4 games. In May, did not win a game. In June, 6 games. We won 1 game in June.
And no draws. So all losses with that. We got 3 points out of 18.
Correct. July, we won 1 game out of 3, though. 1 out of 3. That's fine, but
it's not fine.
And then August, we won 1 game. September, we won 2 games. And then October so far, we've won 2 games. Might win a third, doubtful, but might win a third. But that's kind of, that's kind of how the season's gone, is you gotta win more than 2 games a month if you want to compete in this league. And we failed to do so. The results weren't there. And the reason why is what we're talking about. We lacked goal scoring. That's the biggest thing. We lack goal scoring. Our leading goal scorer, I believe, is still Juan Agudelo, correct? And I believe he only has 8 goals. That's just, we haven't had that since, honestly, the Powell years where we could not find that striker. And one time we thought we did, and the guy didn't even come back to the sport. He stayed in indoor soccer. # Frank the Tank. Shout out Frank Tayu. Hope you're watching, man. But it's been a tough year. And things just really haven't gone SAFC's way. I talk a lot about puck luck. It's a hockey term. Is just the bounces going your way, puck luck. SanAntonio has had virtually no puck luck, except for the 2 games that we've won in October. A couple of those goals that we've won because have come off of own goals, strange bounces. Besides that, we have had 0 bounces go our way this whole season. So it's just one of those.
So I'm going to push this to you here, Rafa, to kind of answer this here. Jason Miranda, lacked goal scoring or the lack of coaching to have our team create goal scoring opportunities for that here. And your thoughts on, is it Marcina and his lack of, or his lack of the ability to change? And I hate saying that he didn't change because he did change some things, but there were some games where it was, sitting next to you, we were begging for a change in formation or a change in tactics, and just never happened.
I think it was a mix of both. We just, like you mentioned, Agudelo was leading scorer with 8, or so far with 8. 8's not going to cut it. And if you notice the years that we've been successful, you've had forwards with at least one or 2 forwards with double-digit goals. And if you look at some of the teams that are ahead of us, that's what they have. You saw what Tani did last year. He had double-digit goals. Same thing with Sam, Patino. When he was full-time, it was double-digit goals. So if you don't have a forward that has double-digit goals, and then someone, I think one thing is we didn't have a forward to complement Jorge, and I think teams started kind of keying on him. If we can cut him out, he won't be able to generate offense and so forth. But if we started getting somebody kind of getting goals scored, kind of like some little cherry pick goals, maybe things would open up a little more. But also the tactics too. You have to create opportunities. And one thing we lacked is, I think we did well a couple of years ago, was the press. And that was one thing the teams hated when they play us, is our forwards would press the defense. And that's how we got a lot of our goals, would steal them and score, and take advantage of those opportunities. We didn't really do that this year. I think maybe we did a couple times, but I guess that also had to do because of the lack of depth that we had. If someone ran out of gas, we just didn't have anybody to replace sub them in, or just didn't, like I said, or our forwards, like I said, our forwards on the wrong side of 30, they're not going to have the stamina to play that way. And then maybe that's something they're going to have to look for. It is, do you need to get younger up top, which I think we do. And I think we succeed well when we do a pressing. And like I said, if you look at the last 2 years, when we've done that, we've done – perfect example was that Charleston game last year. We smothered them back, defense, with that press, and end up scoring 7 goals. We didn't do that this year. So that's something they're going to have – like I mentioned, it's a mix of both. They're going to have to change that. I think we have to go younger up top, and then hopefully that'll complement a lot – ease off a lot of the pressure from our midfield too as well.
Your thoughts, Jonathan, on kind of the goal scoring midfielder lack of cohesiveness?
Yeah, so while we were having that discussion, I actually went back and looked at the number of shots, just shots, not necessarily goals, but just shots that were taken. SAFC led the league in 2022 and 2023. And we know that's not necessarily because they dominated possession and, worked the ball around, found these great opportunities. No, it's because they had a style where they could win the ball back, be direct, and get those opportunities, and get, obviously, a lot of them if you were leading the league. This year, 4th fewest number of shots. And that could partially come down to, like you guys mentioned, Jorge Hernandez maybe getting just smothered. He still, I think, led the league in chances created, or was at or near the top at least. But then who else is creating those opportunities? You maybe don't necessarily have that creation from some of the, for example, the wing backs like you might have had in the past, or from central midfield, maybe necessarily. So just not creating all those opportunities. And then when you get up there, like we referenced, there have been a couple forwards that were signed in the middle of the season, or maybe kind of toward the beginning of the season, but they didn't really make a difference. You had Patino transfer out. That was a big blow to the goal scoring, obviously. You had Solignac, unfortunately, miss the first half of the season, basically, through injury. So it was a very blunt tip of the spear this year, both in terms of how it was constructed, how many opportunities they were creating and taking, and in terms of the actual finishing. It just was not always necessarily good enough. And there were even times when players would get a goal or two, but you'd still look at it and say, they're leaving chances on the table. And this is actually something I remember in at least a couple years before this, SAFC would have an issue with not finishing its chances, not being clinical at the start of the season. And we'd ask Alan Marcina, does this worry you a bit? You're not making the most of these chances. And he would always say, well, I'm confident in my team. As the season goes on, they'll get better. And usually that ended up happening. This year, definitely not.
So let me go through some numbers real quick to kind of support everything here. So number one, Jorge Hernandez still leads the league in assists with 9. He's tied with Fuson. We'll see if he wins that. Little side note, he also leads the league in yellow cards with 12, so that's fun. So going back, so Harry, how many goals have we scored this season? What was that number? You're on mute.
I want to say it's 35 right now.
30 something, right?
Yeah, 30 something.
All right.
I can tell you right now.
35.
Yeah. So we've scored 35 goals. So last season, SanAntonio FC led the league with 65 goals, near double that. 2022, when we won the championship, we were 6th with 62. And then 2021, the year before that, Marcina's first actual true full season as a coach. I'm not going to count the stats from 2020 because of the partial season, yada, yada. But we were also 6th with 56 goals. So as far as Marcina's been the coach, it's been 56, 60, 62, 65, and a huge drop off to 35. The biggest issue with this club Yes, we've had a couple defensive lapses. Absolutely. We've given up too many goals. We know that. But the biggest issue with this club is goal scoring, and we've got to figure that out for sure.
But you talk about the giving up the defense. Really, they haven't. And, I think this is where I kind of take umbrage. Yeah, they allowed 45 goals this year. The year before, they allowed 38. So not that much difference. And in the championship year where we had lockdown, everything, they only allowed 26. But if you really look at it, most if you allow 40 goals in 37 games, or that's not bad. It's a little over a goal a game. So if you're looking at goals allowed per game, it hasn't been a defensive issue. The problem, and I know we've all kind of hinted at it, is to me the disconnect in whether it's the midfield, whether it's the forward, whether it's the play. When we started the season, it was, hey, we're gonna pass, we're gonna hold possession, we're gonna pass, and then we started getting injuries. Then we kind of did a little bit of both, where some games we would, some games we wouldn't, and then at the end of the season, it was back to being direct. And Rafa pointed this out. I believe it was Rafa, that the pressing just disappeared. For whatever reason. For that, and for those keeping track at home, Rowdies and Hartford drew 2-2 in the makeup game from, I want to say it was the first hurricane that came through for that here. And they're playing at IMG, and the Rowdies did clinch a playoff spot with this point for that here. So we talked about the Rowdies possibly missing, but they are locked in now. But to me, and like I said here, in a future episode, we will go through it, and I kind of want to go through and kind of, maybe do, little quick episodes of, talk about, hey, how San Antonio had 4 goalkeepers for the first time through the defense, the midfield, and the forwards. Because if you look, and as much as we want to talk about Ferruzzi and Marcina, one of the misconceptions is they didn't try different things. When you go through and look at the roster, they maxed out roster slots this year for that here, and they loaned people out. So they just, to me, like 2022, everything clicked. It went perfect. This year, we're paying back for having all that luck in 2022, and this is the year we paid for it. And
that's not a bad theory. Let me, I'm sorry to cut you off. Let me go through some quick numbers real quick just to finish it up, because we talked about goals scored. Let's talk about goals conceded. The 2021, Marcina's first true season, San Antonio FC ended up 21st with 40 goals conceded. So 21st out of the league, 20 goals conceded. That's a lot. 2022, the championship year. Oh, I'm sorry. So it's 21st, but that's 21st out of 31st. So that's like 10th place, basically. Apologies. So it's kind of reversed. San Antonio FC in 2022, championship year, we led the league in goals conceded at the least with 27. Last year, 2023, San Antonio FC was third with 41 goals conceded. This year, San Antonio FC it's 7th on this list, which would be 17th in the league with 45. So last year we gave up 41 goals. This year we gave up 45. That's only 4 extra goals conceded, and that takes you from 7th to 17th, or 3rd to 17th with 4 extra goals conceded, which is crazy. But the biggest outlier on that is a championship season where San Antonio FC only gave up 27 goals the entire season. So considering how many goals we scored versus how many we conceded, the front office needs to have a real big think about the tactical plans and how they're going to try to attack the game this next season, and consider going back to what we had, because this season wasn't it. But like I said, to finish up, a 6 is the biggest thing to control the field. We also need to figure out some goal scoring for sure.
But if you also look at the defense that you mentioned, his first full season, remember there were some games that we saw that our defense was getting burnt, especially on the wings, because we had like Doyle and so forth. And then the championship season, we added players that were shut down defenders that had speed. And that made the difference. And this year, we didn't really have that. And I think we've like I said, I know we have 2 carryovers that may already lost a step since that time. But that happens. But the thing is, one thing is we've always had really good depth at our defenders, and we also didn't have an enforcer. And like if you look at like Kamari was our enforcer for those 2 years, I think we're lacking toughness. Our defense needs to play with, excuse my language, play with some balls, and that's what we don't have. Is we need some guys back there that's going to play some ball with balls as far as being tough. Because one thing of that year that we scored the league, the 27 goals, we intimidated teams defensively. We bullied teams. Ever after that, last year, we weren't able to do that. And this year, we didn't bully anybody around. And I think that goes back to, if you can go back to that, the physical play of the defense, but do it the right way, shut down defenders, I think that could be fixed. But also, we also had a bully. If you look at PC, look at Babu, there were little pit bulls right there that did a lot of the dirty work as far as with the defense. And they were able to kind of anchor a lot to dictate where their back three. And if you notice, we've gone a little soft on the defense.
I don't fully agree with that. I think the players.
I think we've gone a little soft. We're not intimidating teams. When you came into Toyota Field, you know you were going to lose. You know you're going to get pushed around. We lost that edge.
But that, and we're going to switch this kind of in a little bit, just briefly talk about it. Coming into Toyota Field, there was two things that stick out to me. One, if you're not scoring to be able to back up the defense, that takes away. Two, like when you saw Louisville on the pitch this weekend, you could just see that they were the better team. Even just warming up, they were bigger, they were faster, to me, they play a right way, along those lines. It's different than San Antonio, but they're physical, they're faster, they're clinical. And to me, the biggest factor about Toyota Field, and this is more self-inflicted, is the fan experience or the game day experience by SAFC to its own fans. And when you don't have the crowd energetic, and it's nothing against the kids, singing the national anthem, but for big games, you need somebody out there that when they sing the national anthem, it's not, oh, hey, that's cute, along those lines. You want to get that stadium buzzing, and this year, it's never been that. I know it seems kind of silly, but during 2022, they had people out there that were belting the national anthem that got the stadium buzzing right from the start. Where this year it's, oh, hey, it's, we're here, it's, along those lines, but we're going to get,
as I said, we lost our edge. That's the thing, that swag that Louisville has.
Yeah.
Because you can feel it when we won the championship. You can feel
hop
that.
In, Matt. I know you want to hop in. You're over here grimacing. Go ahead, Matt. Mr. Dynamo, Mr. Surge.
But I mean, Rafa's not wrong at the same time. I mean, and probably my hot take, Louisville didn't look all that great this past game. Yeah, they got their goal from a lucky hit from our point of view, but to me, it didn't seem like they that great that night. Now I don't know if it was A team, B team. We can call whatever team they want.
That was a rotated squad. That wasn't
Yeah,
their
that's
full
one.
lineup.
It didn't. I felt like we were the better team. That game, it felt like we were the better team. But I mean, like
Jonathan, you kind of winced when you said that.
it was just the feeling I got. I could be wrong, but it felt like we were a little bit more like this is what we need. That's what it felt like to me. But Ruff, like I said, Ruff was not wrong. I do feel like we did lose a little bit of our edge. It didn't feel the same this year stepping in. I don't know if it's all of the differences that happened on the off season, but it definitely did not feel the same. That's just me.
It's about having a swag when you coach a team. And I remember with coaching club, you go in there, you have to have a type of swag and to kind of intimidate the other teams. And and you'll see it in high school, you'll see it in college, even in the pros. I mean, perfect example, like some of the games like yesterday on the Champions League, you have to if you don't have that aura, in that intimidating factor, that helps you win a lot of these games. And that's what happened with us. Those close games that we won in 2022 is because we had that edge. We were relentless. And this year we just didn't have that. And I know things didn't go our way because it hit the post, but you still had to have that edge. And then also, Perry, you also mentioned we didn't have that. That edge is also given by the fans. The enthusiasm, the push, and this is the season that we just kind of lost. Basically, we lost our mojo, and we need to find our mojo back.
It's Austin Powers too. Awesome.
Yeah, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for picking that up. Thank you.
No, I think it's telling. I don't know if we're trying to pinpoint what went wrong with this season, but I think it's telling that we've talked about, well, we're not as aggressive anymore. The stadium atmosphere is not there. The goal scoring's not there. The defending's not quite there. I think it's telling that basically what we're saying is there were a lot of cracks this year. Things were going wrong all over the field. I've even kind of started writing my preview for this Saturday's match. We obviously know it's going to be the last one this year for SAFC. And I've already written something to the effect of like, listen, it's fair to say this has been a disappointing season on and off the pitch. Just things were wrong everywhere in basically every facet with SAFC this year, from obviously the parking and, some things that weren't allowed in the stadium to some of obviously the on-field stuff. Sometimes it's not even just the goals, it's just the players not clicking. Like, there have been issues everywhere. And I think that's kind of how we can put a bow on all this, is like, there wasn't one or two things wrong. It was at least a little bit wrong everywhere.
So here's my question to you guys.
I was going to say, I think that's a perfect way to wrap it up, but go ahead, Harry.
Well, and to me, this kind of goes through here. And we saw it at the end of the season when we need it with the international break. It's cool to have international players, but did SanAntonio FC have too many international players that impacted them down the stretch?
See, I'm going to take this one because I don't think it was too many international players. This squad has had a level of talent we haven't seen. It hasn't had a level of cohesion that we're used to, and that's been the issue. At the same rate, we haven't had exact like-for-like backups for those international players that whenever they go on international duty, we miss them in that spot because we don't have a backup that can do a serviceable job in that spot. That's the issue. It's not, do we have too many? It's, did we properly build the roster to take over for that? And like we've talked about, there's been a lot of money spent on this roster. This is a high dollar roster for the league. So it's not about cheapening out. It's not about, they're cheaping out on stuff, and so they're obviously folding. Get that out of here. It has nothing to do with it. They're trying to be as competitive as they can. If anything, they've signed too many players. they just haven't signed the right players to fill. They've tried to get a lot of square pegs and round holes, and it just hasn't worked. So there needs to be a more thought out process to roster building for next season, to properly get this thing going. That's been the issue. It hasn't been too many international players, just to reiterate myself, too many international players. There's been not a like for like sub for when they're going to go out on a duty during international windows.
And
Yeah,
it's
you hit the
exactly
nail.
sorry, go for it.
I was just going to say, you hit the nail on the head there, Royce, because it really is a depth issue. I mean, I think the El Paso matches are perfect examples because both times SAFC in June, I think it was June 5th, and then October 5th, whatever it was earlier this month, both times SAFC had about half a dozen players out on international duty, and you're looking at the squad going, well, yeah, and with injuries, you're looking at the squad going, okay, there's not really much depth. There's not a bench there. And also, it's not even, it's weird because if you look at the internationals for SAFC, no disrespect, but a lot of these guys, it's not like they're playing for big nations or anything. It's that they're smaller nation internationals. And so that kind of burned SAFC, where, if you could get players the same caliber as some of those guys that played for bigger nations where you're not going to have to worry about losing them. And I think also, for what it's worth, think about the internationals this year. You've got the midfield, for example, Kevin Lambert, Jorge, Bura Noguera, and he ended up not being able to take the call because he got injured for the rest of the season. But Mohamed Omar, there goes basically your entire defensive midfield there.
That's your spine.
Yeah. And also, you figure when we got him halfway through the season, Nelson Flores Blanco and Shannon Gomez, two wingbacks right there.
And Bonnie has also played as a 6. So once again, there goes part of your spine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Largely that attack. You lose all those players all of a sudden. And
but that's what I'm talking about, though, because that comes into the roster build. The too many internationals were lost in an essential spot.
But at the same time, it's just like what Roy said. You had it in the winning season. You had someone who's like, "Oh, it's all good. Boom, that player can take care of it." That's how it was. This year, it was like, "Oh, let me take out I don't know, let me take out Flores, right? Who's going to take his spot? Let me take out Lambert. Who was going to take his spot?"
And that's the weird thing. And Harry mentioned earlier, we basically maxed out the roster. So how do you not have players to fill these positions?
Like, even at that, like, how
does that work?
How do we get players and not even play them? You got Diaz, never played. That I saw, he never played.
He played once.
He played in Colorado. Yeah.
Chivas, he was supposed to be the big forward that was supposed to help out. Didn't play as much as we thought he would. And I don't know if it had to do with his minutes, but still, I mean, you're bringing these players for a reason and not using them to their purpose. So it's like, that's just me.
But I do want to kind of address this, Jason. Focus on next season, new section supporters, starting changes. We'll talk about this. We'll address that in upcoming shows here. This one's just more what happened. Why did the bottom fall out? We'll start to pick up the pieces. Couple of things here I want to point out here. If you haven't got tickets, you can still get tickets to the Summer Cup 2024 championship matchup this Friday. New York versus Kansas City. I watch a little bit of NWSL, but I don't follow it as much as I should. Supposedly there's a lot of talent that's coming for the women's game.
There are a lot of current U.S. women's national team players that are actually playing up the road in Austin that will be playing in this match. So they're not going to travel very far. Well, then again, it's an international window, so will they get released? Anyway, they're on the roster. So we'll see if they show up.
Matt,
Hey, I'm
do
only going
yours.
just to.
Do yours, Matt.
What's mine?
Raz?
Oh yeah. Well, hold on real quick. I was gonna say,
Wow.
I want to see. I want to go to that game to see if Patrick Mahomes might be there. Maybe. Yeah. No.
No.
Okay. Bad take. Anyways, I do want to congratulate
From the king of bad takes, another bad take. Continue.
But this next one is not a bad take.
It's not a bad take. It's a great take. It's a phenomenal take. I want to congratulate Raz on. She's going to be able to shoot photos at the U.S. Women's National Team game up in Austin. She got the approval. She got the credentials to do it. So this is her big shot, and I just want everyone to know, like, hey, she's young,
Well
and
deserved
doing
for
the
18
US
years old, and happy belated
for
birthday,
real.
by the way.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, and it's cool that I know someone famous now, so that's nice.
You know, Matt, dude, he's playoff bound. Matt.
And infamous is different from famous, so let's get that straight. All right, Harry, you ready to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I'll start here. Go vote. Obviously, I prefer you to vote a certain way, but I don't care. Just go vote.
Let your voice be heard. It's your civic duty. Go vote.
Just vote. Especially in Texas, there are not enough people that vote for various reasons. Early voting here in San Antonio is through, but I know Rafa's took his mom to vote in other places and stuff like that. If you're listening to us in the United States, just go vote wherever you can. Research the ballot. Make sure especially the local issues. The props are extremely important. The local races, like here in Texas, the Supreme Court nominees, the House and Texas state stuff are very, very important. I know everybody focuses on the president and Congress along those lines here, but the down ballot races, like I said, are especially locally just as important, if not more important, because they have more of an impact on your life here. So please do your due diligence. Please do your constitutional right. People that have lost their lives for us to be able to go vote and have that privilege. So please go vote. And like I said, obviously I prefer a vote a different way, but my plea is just vote for, just get out and vote. And like I said here, that's it for me. And then like I said here, we'll go around and end up with Royce. So that puts Rafa, up next.
Nah, just like I said, what you said, just go vote. Make sure you go vote. There's also local statutes and stuff like city council stuff, laws, all that. Take care of that. And also, like I said, coming up, El Clasico Sunday should be a fun one. Harry, please jinx Barcelona so we can get a win. So should be a fun one. And then, like I said, looking forward to. We'll see about this game coming up. Can we finish strong? At least go out with a bang, and maybe have Detroit limp into the playoffs or so forth. And then we'll see from there what happens. Now, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen.
Hey, your best friend. Yep.
Remember, give us a 2. We're down 2 goals. We'll score 5 on you. So,
this isn't Dortmund.
As Liverpool and Dortmund. But like I said, we'll see how it is this Saturday. Like I said, just finish off strong, and then we'll see what changes. I do anticipate some changes, some big changes, and then another thing creeping up is the high school season too. So that's creeping up in a couple weeks with the private schools.
Jay, check your wisdom. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So Harry kind of took a lot of what I was going to say. Get out there and vote. This whole democracy thing works better when the people actually exercise their right to vote. And you also kind of touched on one of the things I was going to mention is it hasn't been as much of an issue for the last couple months since we had a pretty notable change at the top of the ticket. But I know a lot of people were saying, I don't really like either of them. Well, guess what? There are a lot more races down ballot. And like Harry alluded to, they are going to have more of an impact. And in a lot of cases, your vote has more impact. Okay. Because let's be real. Most of us, we live in Texas, or maybe you live in another state. There are only about 7 states in this country where your vote at the top of the ticket is going to make a reasonable difference. The rest of them, we pretty much know whether they're red or blue. Okay, but when you've only got a few hundred or a few thousand people voting for, say, your state house representative, your vote actually matters. Your vote actually carries a lot more weight. So go do your research. Early voting will go through next week. It's not like I think it would be a great, obviously SAFC has not had a great season. So why don't you relax, decompress, do your research for voting? Because SAFC, in terms of stressing people out, set the bar pretty low this year. So I don't know, maybe do your research, prepare to vote. Maybe that'll get your spirits up again, as weird as it sounds. And then usually I'd give some sort of optimistic slant on the last match of the season, but honestly, at this point, I think the sooner it ends, the better.
Yikes.
And we start looking toward next season. And for what it's worth, not a great year for SAFC. Like I said, on and off the field, it was, at least on the field, it was going to happen eventually. Okay, Marcina has had a great run for those first 4 seasons, and obviously, got the championship, had some other stumbles, earlier in the playoffs along the way, but it was good. This year, just nothing came together right. We'll see what kind of changes happen in the off season in terms of personnel, whether that's, just players or potentially some other personnel. We'll find out, but this was bound to happen eventually, I'd say. So just when the season ends, take a breath. We'll talk about some stuff in the off season, and guess what? Everyone starts with a blank slate next year. You never know. I mean, take Las Vegas, for example. They had been a laughing stock for years. This year, they put the pieces together. Anything can happen. Matt.
USA fan, super fan of the year, Dynamo fan of the year. Matt?
I won't call myself a fan. I can call myself a supporter. I can definitely say that. But, man, just waiting to see the next time go out to jump for another game. That, I'm not going to lie, it was more fun than I thought it was going to be. Real fun. But
It was a great time. It was a great time out there.
Shout out to Bada and AO. Bada, New York, actually. Those are the guys I met. Shout out to them and of course our local AO chapter, seeing them out there. Surprisingly saw a lot of San Antonio people when I looked around. A lot of San Antonio AO scarves.
And the best part about that night is when the actress from the Telemundo show shouted out, she goes, "Hello, San Antonio," and everyone in Austin was very confused, except for all of us San Antonio fans that were very happy she shouted us out. It was great.
But yeah, I mean, another next best thing is just seeing the Dynamo playoffs. I know now it's my hot take. I love it. I'm happy.
Doesn't happen very often, man.
It really doesn't.
And we got the 2-0 too at the Guadalajara.
So
that doesn't count, man. We're not counting that.
But hey, man, I'm just happy that some better football is gonna be playing while we're in the off season. So, like I said, yes, I call myself a supporter of USA. I won't call myself a fan. I'll support, but let's just see how the games come in this whatever's coming up next.
And I'll take it from there. Man, I'm going to be out there Saturday. I'm going to support the squad one last time. You don't know who's coming back. You don't know who's staying. Those guys have given up their blood, sweat, and tears for us, for our city on the field. And I'm going to go out there Saturday one more time and support them. It hasn't gone our way. It hasn't gone a lot of ways that anybody thought, but the effort was definitely there from the squad, and they've given up everything. It's been a tough season, but at the same time, you got to go support them one last time. Let them know you're out there. Let them hear you. And just to get through this season. You got a point, Matt?
I got one more thing.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go out and help. Go out and support the Crocs. They're going to throw on their last tailgate for the season, and go help them out in the bunker. I have family duties, so I won't be there. My brother won't be there, but they have a drum. I gave them the sticks. Go help them out. That's the best ask I can do. Help out all the supporter groups in the bunker. Just give the guys one last hurrah.
Fair enough. That sounds great. At the same rate, we're talking about voting. A lot of the theme was go vote. If you go to your local county's website, there's always a county elections website, and you can actually preview your ballot on there, whatever precinct you're in, and you can get a good rundown on what's going to be on your ballot for when you vote. So you do some research the candidates, see who's actually going to earn your vote, who is in line with how you think, and just do 5-10 minutes of research before you go vote, just so you make sure whoever you're voting for earns your vote and you're familiar with who they are. And along the lines of what JC said, it's not just two octogenarians going. There's another candidate who's nearly half the age of the other one. So that's happening, and that's fascinating. So, but at the same rate, like I said, support these boys one more time. You don't know who's coming back. And a lot of all these guys have given up everything. A lot of these guys have been here multiple years, and a couple of these guys won a championship in the city. So make sure they know you support them, because you don't know if they're coming back or what's happening. But that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in. What's life without goals? Good night, San Antonio.